What's not to watch? They're the best at what they do, and I'm the best at what I do, and together it's like, it's on.
Is it the best?
Best there ever was. Best there is now, and best there ever will be.
And then when I walked down the street, people would have looked and they would have said, there goes Roy Hobbs. The best there ever was in this game.
In case some of you wonder who the best is, they're up here on this plaque on the wall.
You sure you're ready for this?
I'll do my best.
Your best? Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home to the prom queen.
Here we are, boys and girls, the best soccer show, NASN.TV. Jason Davis, Jared Dubois, the Dream Team. We're back again. Like we said, twice a week now. We're live on a Wednesday. We've got plenty to talk about.
Dream Team. Can I be Magic Johnson?
What? Magic Johnson?
The Dream Team.
Well, yeah, but yeah.
I don't want to be the Larry Bird. Dude's got no swag at all.
Okay, well, no, you're Chris Mullin then.
Come on, dude. Why you gotta give me a flat top?
I'm sorry. You set yourself up for that.
Straight out of the Navy.
It was just an off-the-cuff remark, and you had to actually bring the actual Dream Team into it.
I'll take the Barkley. I'll be the Barkley. Can I be the Barkley?
Yeah, but then you're kind of, well, I guess you are kind of crazy. I guess it kind of fits. I'm going to have to call you the Round Mound of Rebound or whatever his nickname is. Something like that. We'll come up with something.
I'll take that.
Jared Dubois, the Round Mound of something. But we're here again, live on a Wednesday to talk American soccer. There is a U.S. men's national team game that happened last night. Another loss. Clinsy's start has not gone so well. And we've got plenty to talk about there in the second.
His start's not going so well, but the start to this show, I got to say, I'm happy with the result of the first show. I'm happy everyone turned out. People have been downloading. People have been listening. Thank you so much to our fans, those that followed us to the show, those that are new to the show. Thank you very much. Also, for those of you that rated and reviewed us on iTunes, that is huge for us. You don't know what a difference that makes in terms of getting the show out there to more ears and more eyes.
You've got to keep that up. That'll help us bump up. And I did not see it myself, but I was told we had a top 10 debut on iTunes, which is staggering and a credit to everyone. Everyone peaked at 5, I'm being told. So that's a credit to everyone that listened to the show, downloaded it, and reviewed it, and gave us a rating on all of those things. But we've got to be in the moment here, Jared. I know we're excited about the way things started, and look, things will only get better. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got to start getting into this, and we've got Brian Sciaretta of yanksabroad.com coming on in the second segment. Talk about some of the Americans playing over there, some of these new Germans. Danny Williams, getting a little bit of talk after the last couple of U.S. men's national team games. Maybe we'll learn something. So. Maybe we'll learn something new about him. Maybe we talk about Timmy Chandler and playing on the left-hand side of defense, and I don't know. There's a lot to talk about here. Let's go first impressions.
We should drop some knowledge though, and let people know that they can have their say all the whole night long, except for when we have Brian on. We'll be taking your calls if you want to talk about U.S. men's national team game. If you've got a take on maybe one Mr. Tim Ream, perhaps you can give us a call at 201-430-BEST, or you can hit us up on Skype at Best Soccer Show. So make sure you call in, have your say. We also got some of your emails. Thank you for sending those as well. We'll be hitting all that stuff, but on to the game at hand.
Well, I should also mention right now that we do have great sponsors at Bumpy Pitch, and we're running some contests. We'll talk to you guys about when we're giving away our next batch of Bumpy Pitch gear in, later on in the show. I do believe that we've set a record, and we've got our first call of the night pretty early. Jonathan's on the line. What's up, Jonathan?
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. Now, you got to turn us down in the background or you're going to get all confused.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All right, no problem. All right, so we haven't really even gotten into USA-Ecuador yet, and it's another loss and another no-goal performance, not even a lot of chances. I thought they did pretty well in the first half controlling the game, but they didn't create much. So what's on your mind here, Jonathan? Is this U.S. men's national team just kind of panic button mode for you right now?
I wouldn't say it's really panic mode at the moment. I mean, I understand it is a progress thing, but I am a little concerned about what's going on in the striker position. But I mean, like for example, the calling of Edson Buttle is a little bit well,
Who are you talking to in there?
No.
Is it a girl?
Jonathan has just been ejected, and he's
Mom,
gone.
Meatloaf.
That is the best call ever. I mean, all right, let's jump off. Let's use Jonathan's call as a
His
jumping
mom
off
was not
point.
happy.
No.
Obviously, his mom
No.
liked the
Are you
Strikers,
calling-
pairing a lot.
Are
up
you
there.
calling one of those internet radio shows again? We've talked about this. Our bill is insane. All right. Anyway,
Why can't you talk to a girl?
let's. Oh, I think we're gonna get him back. Should we answer the call? Should we answer the call?
That's bad. No, we clowned him.
We gotta answer the call. We did bust on you a little bit,
Take-
Jonathan. You there?
yeah, sorry, I got disconnected there.
Oh, okay. We heard a knock. We thought maybe serial killers coming in. Didn't know what the problem was.
No. Sorry about that.
Well, so Edson Buttle, that confounds
You're
you.
talking Strikers.
Yeah, strikers. Because, for example, Edson Buttle, he's already at the age of 30 years old. I just don't see him being a factor going forward. Where I think someone, for example, maybe like we have maybe a call up someone who's maybe younger, like a Sapong or Charlie Davies.
Okay, but
who would be an experiment.
Let me stop you there. First of all, okay, maybe Charlie Davies, although I would argue he's not ready yet. That's just me.
Mhm.
And Sapong is a very exciting young player, but you've got Juan Agudelo in this team. You've
Yeah,
got
I
got
know.
Teal Bunbury
It's
on
like-
the bench. Why call in all? And first, why call in so many projects? Why not a guy that you know can score goals, has led MLS in goals, and yeah, okay, he's playing second division German soccer right now. So what? I mean, I realize 2014 is not going to be Edson Buttle's time, but I think Klinsmann felt a little bit of pressure to win that game or to win the last couple of games, Honduras and Ecuador. He gets 1 out of 2. I don't know. I think that's just, you take what you've got, except for the young, exciting guys who are unproven. Jared, back me up on this. What other American strikers are out there? Chris Wondolowski?
It depends what you consider young. I don't think Chris Wondolowski.
Well, no, he's not. That's another thing. Yeah, Chris Wondolowski scores goals.
Gomez, that's the same.
Hercules Gomez.
Wondolowski, I think.
And that's the guy. That's the guy that I think everybody would jump to immediately as to where is he and why is he not in this team? Hercules Gomez. But he's 28 years old as well, or I'd have to look that up, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm accurate on that. So you're giving, 2 years.
Don't get me wrong, Jonathan.
Or a
Nothing would
year.
make me tickle in my pants more than seeing CJ Sapong get a chance at the U.S. national team level. But he just hasn't proven
Trouble.
himself. There's not enough goals. There's not enough consistency in the player. He's got great talent, and I'll say that
He's
over
raw,
and over. I
though.
think I've said it a bunch of times already. But
Very raw.
I do agree with you. Maybe Charlie Davies is a little bit more of a possible candidate to be brought in. He does have more goals. Problem with Charlie Davies, he needs more consistency. Until he shows some consistency and
Exactly.
can be healthy for long stretches, I don't know that you want to add additional games onto that body.
And look, Edson Buttle is hot in Germany. He's got 5 goals in his last 10 games. I mean, it's hard to ignore that. Now, I know there are guys in MLS over the, maybe not recently in the same time span, but have been on those kind of runs. I don't know. I think you're quibbling
well,
about
I got a question.
spot.
Jonathan's still on the line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Jonathan, here's a question then. Regarding Edson Buttle, is Edson Buttle the wrong type of striker for the US's new system? He's not fleet of foot. He's not going to be running onto a lot of balls. He's more of a get in the box, maybe get a head on a cross. But the US isn't necessarily playing that type of game anymore. They're not playing the long ball. They're not playing service in their wings. They're trying to work the ball on the ground and release people on dead runs. Basically, Josie's doing a lot of hold up play, which is great. But if Josie's doing the hold up play, is there a role for Edson Buttle?
That's what I was saying. I don't think he fits the role that the USA needs. For example, if we had a presence like Charlie Davies, he has the ability to make those dangerous runs, which I think would be able to stretch the defense. And we have someone who can win headers in the box and things like that. And so I think if you had the combination of those two different types of players, and we know those two they've had chemistry before, I think that could be more effective.
Okay, I tend to agree with you. We're going to let you go. Your quality's gotten crazy there, Jonathan. Thanks for the call. The issue for me that I'm rationalizing this. I'm not really necessarily saying that Edson Buttle's a guy I would call in, but if you've got Josie Altidore, who is a young up-and-coming striker, and you want him to play a target forward, and you want him to hold the ball up, and that's going to be a kind of a centerpiece of your attack in a way, especially because Josie is kind of rounding into that form anyway in the Netherlands. Maybe Edson Buttle's just a guy you have on the bench to replicate that kind of player when Josie comes off, because you're not going to play Josie 90 minutes every day.
Look at Brian Ching's role on this team in the middle of the first decade of the 2000s. He was Brian McBride when McBride wasn't available, injured, subbed out. He was a very similar type of player. I think that's how you have to look at Edson Buttle. Josie's 1A at the target striker, back to goal striker. You have to groom Edson Buttle, I think, to be that other 1B perhaps. Well, not even 1B, number 2. I mean, he's not close enough to Josie's just out of this world right now in terms of, I don't know if I've ever seen a U.S. player over the course of about 6 months improve the way Josie has. Just like all of a sudden, all the things that he's been picking up with his time in Europe and his start in New York, all of a sudden they just click. And I don't know. I've never seen a turnaround the way that Josie's everything we've asked of that player, he's come through with.
He's on a rocket ship. Okay, now whether or not that translates over, and I this is like something I've been repeating for like the last 2 years when it comes to him. Whether or not that translates to the national team, I don't know. It hasn't quite yet. I mean, he's not. It's a new coach. It's 5 games in. They've won 1 of them. It's not translated yet to goals for Josie Altidore.
Can we rehash that for 1 second, Jason? The record right now is 1-3-1.
Right.
When you look at that, isn't that depressing? But I don't feel like that's the record. But when I look at it, it kind of took me by surprise when I look at it like that.
It does. It definitely feels like the record to me. I mean, they haven't. Really? They haven't played, and I'm almost willing to throw Mexico. Not willing. I almost want to throw Mexico out the window too. That was his first run out. Maybe things hadn't started sticking. Yes, of course he.
That's his second best result.
I know. That's what I'm saying though. I'm not. I don't know. I'm not hitting the panic button, but this isn't good. I mean, I'd like to have my spirits buoyed just a little bit here.
I'm not hitting the panic button, and here's why. I like how the U.S. is playing when they have his first choice 11 out there on Tuesday night. I saw things I've wished I've seen from the U.S. team
This is what I tried to say off the top before Jonathan jumped in with his striker thing. Is they played pretty well in the first half. There was some question of whether or not the word dominant should be thrown around. I don't think so. You have to score goals to be dominant, in my mind.
They were the better team. I don't know if that means dominant or not.
They were definitely the better team. Okay, but what does that mean exactly? If they're not creating chances, does it matter? If they're passing the ball around, it's great. That is great because the other team can't
create
score.
a chance the first 30 seconds of the game.
Okay, but was there anything else?
They made some chances, not nearly the same type of clear-cut chances that you saw in the game prior against Honduras, but the style of play over the 2 games, seeing that there's a trend forming, that makes me really positive about the types of gameplay I'm seeing.
And Dempsey
can't go away from that position.
That was my immediate reaction. When everybody kind of I was entertaining some guests last night, kind of watching the game, doing a couple different things. But when I sat down at Twitter, or I sat on my computer at Twitter, I sat down on my computer to check Twitter. It was a lot of negative stuff. There's a lot of people throwing things out the window and ready to throw Klinsmann over the bus. I know that's the negative fans, and Twitter is populated with them. I get it. I'm just saying that, and I don't agree with that, but I do understand the frustration. And if they have the ball, that is definitely a development and a step in the right direction, because that is not something that was a hallmark of Bob Bradley. But if you look at that first 11 that he put out last night, say it's his best or not, I don't know, quibble with a couple of choices. Didn't that look like a Bob Bradley lineup to you? Okay, except for maybe Clint, in the
second half, maybe a bit more in the second half than the first half. But my question for you is, so if the first half and the second half are so different, real quick before we go out to break, because we got Brian Sreda coming up, if the difference between the first half and the second half, there's 3 subs that come in, 3 to go off. Brek Shea goes off, Steve Trundler goes off, Maurice Edu goes off. Of those 3, what was the difference maker? And I think you and I both know what it was.
What?
Brek Shea.
Okay. Yeah.
Brek Shea leaving the field made that team play differently. When you bring DeMarcus Beasley had a good game, I think.
Okay.
But the way that Brek Shea combines with Clint Dempsey and with Josie Altidore, I think is much different and much more of a complementary style than what you get from DeMarcus Beasley.
No, I agree with you. I saw some people hating on Brek last night, said he was lazy.
Really?
A couple of things. First of all, I thought he played pretty well. I mean, I keep in mind the fact that he's being run into the ground over the last month or whatever it is. The guy's played so many minutes, it's unbelievable. He's got to be dead tired. I can't imagine that he's going to go out there for 75 minutes or whatever it was. I don't know when Beasley came in the game. I don't think he's gonna be able to put 110% in everything. He's not gonna be top level Brek Shea.
What I enjoy about Brek Shea is that when he gets the ball in the wings, he cuts in.
We gotta take a break. We'll be right back. Brian Sciaretta from Yanks Abroad is on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. The Best Soccer Show.
Don't have time to trawl across the internet for all your North American soccer news? Why not watch NASN News Monday to Friday? We'll update you on what's making the headlines in Major League Soccer, the CONCACAF Champions League, and the U.S. national team. We'll also keep you up to date on how American and Canadian players are doing in other professional leagues worldwide, and a whole lot more. Visit nasn.tv/news to see our latest episodes, and make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or YouTube.
Beaches, sun, beautiful women, all things that are in Los Angeles, the place you wish you lived.
It's 80 degrees out right now. All the stars are already here. Why don't you join us?
Corner of the Galaxy with Josh Guessman and Jared Dubois, covering all things Los Angeles Galaxy. You can hate all you want from across the U.S. or somewhere in a flyover state, but at the end of the day, you know who you really want to listen to.
Corner of the Galaxy with Josh Guessman and Jared Dubois.
Weekly on the North American Soccer Network.
Back on the Best Soccer Show, Jason Davis, Jared Dubois, NASN.TV, brought to you by Bumpy Pitch, which I think I mentioned last segment, but I forgot if I did. So I'm mentioning it again.
You did.
All right. Oh, doubling
they
up. They
deserve double mention.
Sure they do. On the line with us now, yanksabroad.com writer Brian Sciaretta to talk all things Yanks Abroad. Imagine that. Brian, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Not bad. Now,
well.
this is kind of a perfect time to talk to you with the greater influence or the rise in the number of Yanks Abroad, and not through the normal process of they're born here, they grew up here, they go play somewhere else. We've got all these Germans that we're all trying to learn a little bit about.
You say it like that.
No, it's not
like
a bad thing.
Negative.
No, it's definitely not a bad thing, and I'm all for them joining the team. I do wonder sometimes about the integration of Danny Williams and Timmy Chandler, or Jermaine Jones before, but maybe not so much now, into the team. Talk a little bit about this new German influence. And actually, I'm wondering, do you think this happens if it was still Bob Bradley, or is this a lot of Jurgen Klinsmann's influence here?
Oh, it happens if it's Bob Bradley. Bob Bradley was very gun-ho about German players. I mean, you saw Timothy Chandler. I mean, he made his Bundesliga debut in January. The Egypt game got canceled. And in the very first game that after Chandler made his debut, he was playing for the national team. Bob Bradley was very much loved the German style of play. That was a style of play he emulated too, the German philosophy. So you'd see this regardless of who was the coach. But they're integrating very well into this team. I mean, I talked to Danny Williams. I've been covering Danny Williams for a couple of years now, and he speaks very good English, even better than Timothy Chandler, and it really hit home for him, especially when the team went and visited the 9/11 Memorial the day before the Ecuador game. So they're getting along just fine. I've asked all the players. I was covering games in Miami and in New Jersey. I was at practice. I missed all but one practice. They're getting along on and off the field, and there's really no problems as far as integration is concerned, which is a good thing because there's even more German Americans in the pipeline too.
Right.
Well, two questions then regarding Danny Williams, since you brought him up. One, English-wise, is he on par? Is he better than Jermaine Jones? Is he fluent? And then two, I think a lot of us, when we read the Q&A that U.S. Soccer had with Danny Williams, really liked the answers that he was given. There's that part of me, though, that's kind of bitter and jaded, wants to say that that's what he has to say. There's a press officer next to him saying to say all the right things. Is this a kid that really wants to be on this team? Because he seems like it, but you having a little bit more one-on-one experience with him, is it for real?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to him for 2 years now. Unlike first of all, his English is the best of all the German Americans. Better than Jermaine, better than Timothy Chandler.
Does that
better
include
than
Steve Cherundolo?
Yeah. The German-born American.
There you go.
Better than better than Yeldell. He's better than
Right.
all the other Fabian Johnson. He's unlike the other guys the other German-born Americans. His dad never left. His dad never returned to the United States. So he grew up with, and his mother and father stayed together. After his dad got out of the military, he settled in Germany. So he always had an American presence in the house as he was growing up. That's kind of important to remember. So he grew up in a very American environment, even though he only came to the United States for the first time ever in June. I mean, his American roots were always with him, and his dad, he's very, very close with his father and his mother. So that's something of a little bit of a unique situation for him. So he does feel very American, and that's a good thing.
Okay, now talking specifically about positions for these guys. I mean, we got Timmy Chandler playing on the playing left back when he's normally a right back, and he's certainly right-footed. Danny Williams, I know he played in the back line in Germany when he first broke in, but he's naturally a midfielder by trade. Is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And quite honestly, I was very puzzled by Klinsmann's selections in the last two games. If you notice, everything, because Beckerman and Adu were off in both games, and that really made it so that every focal point of the attack on the U.S. national team had to come out of the wings. I was really thinking that in Ecuador, I was hoping to see a central midfield pairing of Danny Williams and Michael Bradley, because both of them are naturally central midfielders. Danny Williams was playing on the right. I mean, he did okay out there, especially for some guy who hasn't really been involved with U.S. soccer at all at any level. But you have to remember, he's not a right midfielder or even a right back or left back. He's played all across the place, but he's naturally a central midfielder. And he did very, very well against Bayern Munich the weekend before the international window. So I was kind of hoping to see that he'd use that success against one of the best clubs in Europe and bring that on to the national team. But Klinsmann, for reasons I don't really know, chose to play him out of position, and Adu really struggled against Honduras, but he kept he started again. So that was something maybe we'll hopefully see corrected in the November games.
So something to look forward to possibly is Danny Williams moving to the middle, and no, you don't really have any idea of that's in Klinsmann's mind at the moment, but you would have to imagine that if Landon Donovan is in this team, Danny Williams isn't going to play on the right side of midfield if Brek Shea is playing on the left side. So maybe that forces Klinsmann's hand to give Danny Williams a shot in his natural spot in the center of midfield. Yeah,
I'm hoping that. There's a bunch of different ways he can play it, too. I mean, if Donovan moves up top into an old 4-4-2, or, there's a lot of different formations you can use. If you do like a 4-2-3-1, you could have Danny and Michael in the 2 formation, and then Dempsey in the central, and then Donovan and Brek. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can play it. Fabian Johnson's another name that's really going to see some minutes too, because he's another German-born American player that is, he's a little bit more on the explosive side of things. I think most people would rate him a little bit higher than Danny Williams. So Klinsmann's definitely
Brian, while you're talking for Fabian Johnson, though, what is his position? There's so much talk about where Fabian Johnson actually plays. What is his preferred position?
Well, he's another one of these jack of all trades. He can play fullback either side, but he's a little more comfortable in the midfield. The reason why people have been talking about him as a left back, he played there a little bit with 1860 Munich when he first came on, and he was also played a little bit there on the German U21 team that won the European Championships in 2009. He split time between mostly right midfielder and right wing, and then a little bit of left back. Predominantly, he's an attacking-minded, I would say, winger that can shift from side to side during the middle of a game. But he can play left back but that's not his natural position, but he can do it. So I think you're going to see him possibly at right mid if they move Donovan up top, or if depending how they juggle around Donovan and Dempsey. It's one of these things where Clinton's really going to have to see what fits well in camp. But he would have fit better in the right midfield where Danny Williams played, as opposed to how Clinton played Danny Williams. So, but Fabian Johnson's definitely going to get a lot of minutes with this team. He's very good.
We got a question from the chat room, Brian, and this is from Iron Turk, and he asks,
here's my question. Do you think about 2 or so decades down the line, Germany and the U.S. will be competing for the international services of the same players?
No, I mean, it's funny. The number of German U.S. military presence in Germany has decreased over the last 10 years, so you're probably not going to see the same number of German-born players. Hopefully 2 decades down the line, we're at the point right now where, the U.S. is producing so much top talent that these kind of players are the norm of how we produce, as opposed to these German-born talent can just walk into this team. 2 decades out is. I mean, I've been a fan for more than 2 decades. I never thought we'd get to where we are now with a fully functional league. So, trying to predict next year is almost impossible, let alone 2 decades down the line. But, I don't see that happening.
Let's move away from the German contingent and talk a little bit about some other guys, maybe some guys who haven't gotten into this team yet. I know Josh Gad is a guy that you probably get asked about a lot, especially on Twitter. He's exciting. He's got some YouTube videos out there that everybody gets jazzed up about. How far away is Josh Gad? I'm pretty sure he's having a good club season, and they play on more of an MLS schedule in Scandinavia. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, everyone says they want to see Diskerud on the team. That's true, and I do. I think Josh Gad is probably higher up because he offers something that we just don't really have, and that's we're starting to get with Chandler, but he offers speed in an unparalleled degree. I mean, I think he's probably maybe the fastest American I've ever seen play the game, and that includes Marvel Wynn and DeMarcus Beasley in their day.
Wow.
That's something you can't teach that, you can't coach that. It's something, and now this past year with Molde and playing under Ole Gunnar, he's learned how to develop some skill on the ball with that speed. He still has a long way to go. He's still a work in progress, but that speed is something that can be a real game changer, and it's something unique that I think would be really good to have on the team. So I'm hoping sooner than later. I mean, for sure you'll see him in January during the January camp.
Right.
November, it really depends on whether or not Molde can lock up the title. They're in first place, and they've never in their 100-year history. This is the 100th anniversary of the club. They've never once won the Norwegian title, and they're kind of beginning to separate themselves from the pack. If they win it, maybe Klinsmann calls them over in November in Europe. But I'm hoping sooner than later, just because of that speed. I mean, it's something that really could stretch the defense late in the game as a sub.
Hey, Brian, a lot of stuff's being made right now about it kind of got leaked that there were a lot of big name clubs out at these last 2 games checking out Brek Shea. Manchester United name got dropped. Chelsea's name got dropped.
City.
What? I'm sorry?
City. Go. I'm sorry.
City.
I'm just adding.
So with Brek Shea, is this a move that he's going to make in the near future? Can we really trust that these teams are really actively pursuing him, or is it more just a check-in and see what all the hubbub's about?
Klinsmann told the media before the Ecuador game that he has had coaches call him, wanting to know about his status and quality and stuff. There are big names interested in the Shea. The seriousness and the dollar amounts, I think, will probably start to see more rumors and interest firm up in December, and then I think there will definitely be some offers made in January. But he has 3 years left on his MLS contract, so the offer is going to have to be high for MLS to accept. It's not like he's in the last year of his contract, so you're going to be looking at there will be some offers, but. And I think there will be some big clubs being interested too, but it's really going to come down to MLS has some leverage to try to squeeze a lot of money out of any kind of transfer.
And what about Clint Dempsey? He seems to be at the top of his game, especially as a national teamer. I mean, it's spent the last couple of years wondering when he was going to kind of turn on what he does at Fulham for the national team. The last couple of games, while we've had some down things about the way that they've performed, Dempsey is the bright spot. Is he in line for a move? Does he want to move? I think that seems to be the impression I get, that maybe he's just not ready to leave Fulham.
I think he is. I think he's probably. I think he should go. I think he's done everything he can do at Fulham. I mean, he's finished in the top 10 now in the standings with Fulham a couple of times. Honestly, with the money that they spend, and that's as high as they're ever going to go. I mean, it would take something miraculous for them to finish in the top 5. So he's done everything he can do. He's comfortable where he's at, but I think that. I mean, it's not going to improve him as a player to move on. He's as good as he's ever going to be. But for his own personal recognition and reward, it would be nice to see him go to a bigger club. I think it'll happen. It's going to take a little. It's going to take a lot. A lot's going to have to make sure. As long as Fulham has to be pretty secure in their standings, separate themselves above like any kind of relegation threat. And if they do so, I think then you'll probably see them more willing to part with Dempsey if a good offer is made. I mean, it's going to take a good penny to separate them, but I think it could happen. I think it will happen at some point.
So we've heard a lot about Rangen's 500 list of players playing abroad and how Klinsmann's using that and really going to go actively pursue some of these players. My question for you, Brian, is 500 players, that's a lot of names. Do you feel that's an accurate representation? Is it soft? Is it too high? Or is it pretty close to what you think as well?
Well, I mean, that's probably the number, give or take 100. But
it was shockingly large. That's a big number.
Yeah, it's large. I mean, there's a lot of teenage kids that go over there with stars in their eyes, like, I mean, at all levels. I mean, there's just like there's kids arriving in Hollywood thinking they're going to be movie stars every day, but and within that list, there are men from the boys, and there's definitely, clear prospects, and there's definitely clear kids who are just aiming for the stars that are not going to really amount to much, as of course. And the list is pretty clear as to who's good and who's not. So, there's a lot of people over there right now, and and unfortunately, and the good thing is that they know which ones to watch and which ones not to watch. I mean, it's far easier to track these kids than it was 10, 15 years ago. I mean, they know they have a pretty good idea of what's going on over there.
All right, so 500, not 500, whatever it is, I want to ask you, and I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, and we know about Josh Gad, and Mikhail Diskerud gets a little talked up and hasn't gotten in the team. Who's the next guy that we maybe don't talk about much right now, or we know his name, but he hasn't crested yet, that will be showing up in this team maybe by qualifiers next year?
Who's the next fanboy sensation?
Yeah, who's the fanboy sensation?
All right, you want to know the one everyone should get excited about? I think it's, well, maybe not by qualifying next year, but Johnny Anthony Brooks.
Okay, another German-American, correct?
He's another German-American. He turned down a 3-year professional contract from Bayern Munich as an 18-year-old in May to sign a 4-year big contract with Hertha Berlin. I think he could see his Bundesliga debut this year. He's very good. Smooth on the ball, 6'3", left-footed central defender.
Whoa.
Position of need. Likely captain of the next U20 team. Him and Fabian Hertzler are both good. I think John George is another one who could see his Bundesliga debut. These are all German-born Americans right now. In terms of another good ones are, Sean Cunningham, who's also at Molde as a left back, and Juan Osageda is at Tigres, and he's a left back too. And those guys
just dumping them. He's got tons of them. People. There's just.
I feel like when we talk to Brian, we're talking like on CNBC, and he's got all the like the hot stock
hot
tips.
Stocks. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, John Anthony Brooks. I was actually talking with Thomas Rangen last week. He's still involved with U.S. Soccer, and I told him, I mean, John Anthony Brooks, I think, is the best teenage prospect. American teenage prospect. He didn't disagree either.
Too young for the Olympic team, or is that a possibility?
I just recently did my 18 tickets. I have him in the roster just because central defense is not that deep, and he's also age eligible for the 2016 Olympic team. So that's how young he is.
Wow.
But remember, he's also listed as being on the first team at Hertha Berlin right now.
Right.
He missed a lot of the preseason because of an Achilles injury, but he's I don't see him by the start of World Cup qualifying. But if he makes his Bundesliga debut, I think he's an Olympic team and play up a cycle. And I think you might see him start to get some looks maybe about a year or two away.
All right, that's excellent stuff. Brian Sciaretta, yanksabroad.com. The man is a font of information. You should be following him on Twitter. Brian Sciaretta on Twitter. Jared, do you have anything else to ask Brian before we let him
No,
go?
follow that man.
Yes, do that.
That's a wealth of knowledge.
And read what he writes.
He's the only person that comes up that's okay at your work when you search the phrase "sexy young German."
Jeez. Thanks
Brian
for
Sciaretta may come up, and that's the only time it's okay at your work.
Thanks for your time, Brian. We'll talk to you later.
Anytime, guys.
All
I'll
right.
be back soon.
Bye-bye. Yeah, wow. Your head swims because, look, I mean, the team right now has a couple of holes and some cracks, and they're not creating chances, and we're working out a new coach and all of these things, and, it's troubling. 1 win in 5 for a new guy is troubling. There's no new coach bump here. They're not going out and, I mean, they're playing hard, don't get me wrong, but it seems like, the results aren't coming. So when you get Brian Sciaretta on and he's just dropping all of these names and he's genuinely excited and he sees tons of kids.
It's a pick-me-up.
And he talks to tons of kids and he's genuinely excited about John Anthony Brooks and he said John George, right? So we could potentially have.
Yes, he did.
Maybe we'll talk about George John next segment. John George and George John in the same team.
It's like Adu and Adu all over again. It's even more confusing.
It's almost worse than that. All right, so when we come back after this break, we're working some more phone calls if you guys have those. I believe there's some emails, all kinds of various things happening. We still haven't really fleshed out how to fix.
We haven't talked about Tim Ream.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Tim Ream. That's going to happen. All right, it's the Best Soccer Show, NASN.TV. Let me just cue up my music here. Jason and Jared, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Stay there. Back on the Best Soccer Show, Jason Davis, Jared Dubois, NASN.TV is where you can find our show each Monday, each Wednesday. That's right, twice weekly. Wednesday will always be live. Wednesday will always include phone calls if you people want to jump up and do it. 201-430.
Utah, get me two.
Hey, I'm doing the phone number. 201-340. See what you did? 201-430-BEST. 201-430-2378 or Best Soccer Show on Skype. That is how you get to us if you have opinions and you feel like you're the only one that can properly express them, because we have emails too.
I think my point break reference takes the precedence over any phone number that could be put out.
Is that what you were jumping in with there? Because I didn't hear it at all, so I missed it. I'm sure it was fantastic. I'm sure it was just
Utah. Get me two.
Oh, okay. It was a Utah. Okay. All right. We have got to talk about the GOAT of this game. And when I say GOAT, I'm not talking about greatest of all time. This is the man that's taking the brunt of the blame for the loss. Tim Ream. Now, I am not going to defend Tim Ream, and I am this close to jumping off.
That's your job.
No, I am this close to jumping off of the Tim Ream bandwagon. I still think he will be a good player, and developmentally, I will still say that he is a young player. And that is not an excuse, but it is an explanation. He just switched off. I don't know what happened there. How you let that guy get ball side in 5 yards in front of the net, I have no idea. That was
you ready for poor. You ready for my super hacky Tim Ream joke?
Yeah. By the way, I don't have the rim shot. It dropped out. So
this is super hacky. Like I'm talking like a guy named Jackie something in the Catskills would tell this joke. So all right, here's my super hacky joke.
All right.
How do you know Tim Ream was playing at home?
How do you know?
He left the back door wide open.
Oh,
Danger zone.
That's just okay. All right. I'm sorry, I didn't have a rim shot.
I said it was super hacky.
Yeah, that's pretty hacky. Hacky.
That punchline also works with the setup of how do you know you're on a date with Richard Simmons? But
moving along quickly. All right, look, I think it's time. And I think this was even before this game. It's
time he gets called out. It's time he gets called out.
He's getting called out. He is getting called out, and he hasn't played well in MLS for a while. He's getting called out. What I was going to say is it's time for people, and I think people are doing this too. And even before this roster came out and Tim Ream was in it, people were saying, after the roster came out and he was in it, people were saying why before any games were played. There are other guys that deserve a shot, and it's not just Omar Gonzalez. Although we have been, hitting hard on Omar Gonzalez and. Forget his shot
I
across
don't
the
think
bow.
Omar Gonzalez would do much different than Tim Ream is right now. To be
No,
honest
he might
with
have
you.
some
I think
struggles.
that Omar Gonzalez
He
is
might
going to
have
have
some
lapses
struggles.
just like Ream would. But
Right.
I just don't understand the persistence in the Ream call up and
Well,
not spreading the wealth a bit.
okay.
That's where I find an issue with it.
And again, I've made this argument, and I'm not saying it's an excuse for continuing to call him in if he's not playing well, but he's a young player. He needs the instruction. You want to get him in as many times as possible if you are buying the idea that he is definitely a center back of the future. But at this point, like I said, I can't defend Tim Ream. That was pretty poor. That was really bad. There is George John. There is Omar Gonzalez.
If Klinsman's saying that the best people are in camp right now, and Steve Storr just put this up in the chat room, so shout out to him. How are you not going to have Clarence Goodson in there? You're
Okay.
telling me that Clarence Goodson is not better than Tim Ream or Michael Orozco-Fiscal? He's better than Omar Gonzalez, better than George John. He has proven himself as a very quality option at center back. Now, I will say, though, that I think the Gooch is back.
Gooch looks to be back. I'm excited about that. I love Gooch. And I'm feeling like this swelling of pride. I'm not taking any credit for Gooch being back, but right before he was called into this camp, or maybe it was after he was called in, but we hadn't seen him play yet, I wrote this thing for one of my weekly jobs is ussoccerplayers.com. I write a column for them. And I was kind of just chronicling Gooch coming back from that injury in October of 2009. That's how long ago this was. And he's just now really fully back. Tells you not only how, because he is a specimen. No one can ever say that Oguchi Onyewu is not one of the best athletes ever to put on an American shirt, and it took him this long. That tells you how hard that injury is to come back from. It sucks that he lost out on a chance to play at AC Milan. It sucks that, he's had these struggles and he hasn't played and he didn't really get to feature in the World Cup except against England, and it didn't go that well. But now he
Gooch
seems
was
to be
the
back.
most important call-up that Klinsman made for this camp, I think. That giving him a second chance to redeem himself, first of all, and second of all, put all the haters, me probably included, to bed. I mean, granted, one game with the national team, but if you put that on top of the form he's had with Sporting Lisbon, and what you remember about this player maybe just 3 or 4 years ago, and when no one was surprised when he got signed by AC Milan, he was on the up.
People were a little surprised. I mean, he's still an American, and he's still only been playing in Belgium, and
You're not
he's
surprised
still
he got a
slow.
big contract, is what I'm saying.
Okay, it wasn't a surprise that Gooch landed a big deal. It was a little surprising it was one of the biggest clubs in the world, but that's, okay, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with you there. Go on.
So, but having him for Klinsman having the balls to call in Gooch again,
He's playing in Portugal, though. I mean, that's the thing. It's not necessarily balls if a guy is talented. This isn't Tim Ream, and he's a project, and he hasn't done it on the international level. You know that Oguchi Onyewu can get the job done if he is 100% healthy and playing regularly, and he's playing regularly in Portugal, and he's 100% healthy. We got a sound effect on this show because Oguchi Onyewu is healthy. That's why we talked about it. He was so far up in the air that it defied believability considering his knee injury. I'm just saying considering the injury. So he's completely healthy. I think you're right. If we're going to talk about positives, one center back makes a terrible mistake. They lose the game because of it. They couldn't score. That's another reason they lost the game. But another center back is fully back. Now, I don't know, Gooch is going to he's going to age, and who knows if 2014 is going to be another time for him to shine, but at least you have a solid, experienced defender who you can take with you all the way through qualifying, that you can take with you to Azteca, and that's a big deal, I think.
Yeah, and when you say solid, I mean the guy that works on a few different levels, and the guy's like a rock. But more than anything, it makes me when you saw that Orozco-Fiscal was one of the people that was potentially going to be your center back, if you believe Klinsman, for the next cycle going forward.
Right.
Having Gooch come back in and put in a performance like he did against Ecuador is a huge relief for me. And it just answers maybe one of the questions that's out there. And this team has a lot of questions. Center back's one of them right now. And having Gooch come back and put in a performance like that, kind of for the short period at least, lets me put my attention elsewhere.
Right, we can
and one
focus
of those places I want to put it is center midfield.
We can focus on the fact that he thinks Maurice Edu is better than Michael Bradley, Jurgen Klinsmann, I mean. We can focus on the fact that striker is still a problem, despite the fact that Josie Altidor's finding himself in Holland. There are still a lot of issues. There's still the fact that Landon Donovan and Clint Dempsey, we don't quite know how they're going to work together. Maybe Klinsmann has a plan, but it really, really sucked that Donovan had to pull out of this team because I was ready for that. I was ready because Clint is showing it. Clint is strutting right now. And to have maybe Landon Donovan and Clint Dempsey cancel each other out a little bit, and we may have even had this discussion at some point in the past. I don't know. Maybe it has to be Clint Dempsey's team. Who knows?
But I am happy or very excited to see what happens when Donovan comes back. Maybe even you move Donovan into the center and you let he and Dempsey get close to each other. I mean, Dempsey keeps pushing high, but one of the big problems in this game was getting the ball to the feet of Dempsey and getting it there early.
Right.
So many times those slotted balls into Dempsey's feet were getting intercepted. They were cutting the angle too low, and the time in receiving the ball from a Beckerman or Bradley or Edu and getting it off the foot and into Dempsey was too long. Maybe a player like Donovan playing in front and maybe freed up a little bit. He doesn't have to do all the offensive work with Dempsey playing right ahead of him. And with someone like either a Beckerman or a Bradley behind doing the true center defensive midfield role, maybe a player like Donovan putting him closer to Dempsey will really ignite Dempsey into space. Because right now, you see that Dempsey has the tools. You see that he can play that role.
Right.
The problem is, can you get him and facilitate him to be able to do it?
Yeah, I agree. All right, we got a good collection of emails after last week's show, after our debut show on NASN. And our email address, by the way, is bestsoccershow@nasn.tv. If you want to send us email, we've got a ton. We're not going to be able to get through all of them, but we should hit on at least a couple of these. First, we talked a little bit about the attendance issues in various cities wherever the United States plays. Either the attendance is low. In Miami, they got 21,000. They got 20,000 something up in New Jersey.
In a hurricane.
Well, the Miami game. And they got 20,000 at Red Bull Arena, which isn't a sellout. You wonder why these things don't happen. We asked about promotion, and we asked people who have been around some U.S. soccer friendlies, because I think friendlies is the real issue, to talk about promotion. Matt, I'm not going to say your last name, Matt, because I can't pronounce it. I don't know about the Miami game, but the U.S. national team games in Nashville team game against Nashville and in Nashville against Paraguay was advertised in Nashville. I don't know how much advertising was done, but I heard several ads for the game on a radio station, The Zone, a big sports station in Nashville, and I know a few of the local shows on the station had talked about the game when it was announced. Well, I mean, okay, that's good. I mean, it's good to hear, and maybe Nashville's the exception, or maybe that's the way it's always in every city. But I think maybe Nashville's a little different because it's not quite the sports town in terms of the number of options.
I won't be surprised to hear that New York had pub. I mean, that MLS.
Yeah, but whether anybody noticed is the
huge
difference.
Media empire.
Yeah,
I won't be surprised if we hear that New York had plenty of prep around it or a pub around it.
It's possible.
I do want to hopefully hear from someone in Miami to find out if the same was there. Maybe it's much to do about nothing. Maybe they are doing. We said last week at least the bare minimum, and if they're hitting sports talk radio stations, I mean they're at least they're catering to a sports fan in that demographic in that city, and that's fine by me.
Yeah. I tend to think that the people that listen to sports talk radio, all sports talk radio, are not the kind that go to soccer games, but it's not always true. I mean, you might get a couple.
You might get some. I think it's being more and more crossover all the time. And we had debates before about which sport is carrying over most. But we got another email here, and there's a little bit to each of us in this one. This is from Andy, and he says to me. He says, you made it seem like Laurentowicz is bottom of the barrel when talking about Jermaine Jones. Come on, dude. Ginger Ninja hits a heavy ball and is really impressive on dead ball situations.
Yeah.
What?
He does hit a heavy ball. That man's got a shot on him.
He does hit a ball. And we talked about a couple of weeks ago about how lamenting the fact that there's no true free kick shooter on this team. Maybe Dempsey can do it, but I don't know this is a specialty.
Speaking of this, you had Steve Tarundolo taking corners, which, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but I'm just saying that's
where you feel the loss of Donovan. I really feel the free kick game.
Right.
It was really where you felt the loss of Donovan in this game. Because Tarundolo could not get the ball above the first defender.
He had
couldn't get it up.
Couple poor ones.
Michael Bradley has one good service in, a fantastic service actually. The one ball that he did serve in perfectly.
That job's all about consistency, though, isn't it? That job is all about consistency. It's not whether you
without
hit
a
1
doubt.
out of 5.
And you say what you want about Landon Donovan, he does do it consistently. You may not always like the ball. It may not be the perfect ball, but he has consistently can get it above the first defender and into a dangerous average position.
Right. Anyway, go ahead.
Going on with Andy's email, he says, Andy's a good destroyer as any. Talking about Laurentowicz, I just don't think you got to diss him like that. One of the best at that position in MLS and deserves a call up. What do you think, Laurentowicz? Am I too hard on him?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know quite where you fall on this. I mean, I think he's behind Beckerman. I definitely think he's behind Adu. I definitely think he's. I mean, there's not anybody I would pick him out and say, well, let's swap him out for somebody there. So I like the guy.
Is the drop
guy.
off much between Beckerman and Laurentowicz though?
Is there a drop? No, it's not that much. It's not that much.
I still think Beckerman's. Let's play a little bit of a name game here. You want Beckerman or would you take Laurentowicz?
I'd take Beckerman over Laurentowicz, even though Laurentowicz got
Beckerman or Adu.
After last night, I don't know. I don't think Beckerman probably. I don't know. I'm fully off.
Beckerman or Bradley?
Bradley, 100%.
I think I pretty much go the exact same way.
Jurgen Klinsmann does not agree with me at all. Jurgen Klinsmann does not agree with me at all.
Jurgen Klinsmann doesn't agree with a lot of people.
No,
I think
I know.
That's what we're learning early in his tenure. But hey, at least he's got an opinion.
All right, so we've got a bunch of emails. We don't have much time. How about a short one from Taylor in SoCal, your neck of the woods there. Jared Gooch dropped the mic tonight. Also, what do you think? And he did. Did you see that little creative play at the end of the game? I almost thought he was going to spring somebody, and we were going to.
My man ran a break like Shaq.
Yeah,
you see that? That big man bumbling.
What the hell is Gooch doing?
Yeah. I kind of hoped that he would try to take it the distance.
Yeah, I didn't have it. He got pushed off the ball. Also, what do you make of Clincy saying that Williams broke into the team within 2 games and he's in there? Thought he's been good, but maybe a little premature. And what does that mean for Landy Cakes? Means nothing for Donovan. Means nothing for Donovan.
That's an honest summation, I believe. I think if you get into the team, that's what you should do. If you look at what Danny Williams did over 2 games, given the chance, that is the type of way. That's how you make a statement.
Yeah.
He came in and said, "I can play in this team.
He can play.
He
can play. He's not knocking Donovan out of the spot. It's just he's not. So yeah.
Hey, but you feel a lot more better about the depth at the outside of midfield now than you did 2 games ago, don't you?
Yes. Let's take a break. We'll come back and close this one out. Live on a Wednesday, the best soccer show, NESN.TV. Don't go anywhere. Back to close out the best soccer show, NESN.TV. Jason and Jared. Let me go ahead and thank Brian Sciaretta for coming on this show again. Excellent information. Go to yanksabroad.com. It's yanks-abroad.com. If you don't know. Who doesn't know Yanks Abroad? I may have said that before.
I have no idea. But I got to say, that intro music, that's something we haven't used before. I kind of feel like I'm walking in a Quentin Tarantino movie.
It's a little bit like that.
That music comes on.
It's a little bit like that. We've got to go straight in. We have a couple minutes here. Got to go straight into MLS. We haven't had a lot of time to talk about it. Playoff scenarios and standings, and teams are getting in.
Talk about geeking out. You can geek out on playoff scenarios right now.
Right. As we speak, I believe FC Dallas is in the playoffs. Is that correct?
They got to win.
Did they finish that out?
Yeah, 2-1 win against Chicago. It looks like it's final.
It should be final. Based on time, it should definitely be final.
Assuming it does, that would put Dallas into the playoff race. But the bigger news is the other game going on tonight. Vancouver up 1-0 on DC in a must-win game for DC right now.
If DC wants to have any chance, they've got to finish this thing out with a string of wins. It's gonna be difficult, and now they've got to come back.
I gotta say, if DC doesn't make it, that's the best team not to make it. I think they are hitting a nice stride. They hit a pretty good patch here in the second half of the season where I wanted to watch them in the playoffs. Unfortunately, with losing Pontius, I think it's one of those things that they didn't really read on from very well.
Couldn't count on losing Pontius the way they did, especially after he played that brilliant game against Chivas and then got hurt in the same game. I have a soft spot for DC. Would like to see them in the playoffs. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. If they can't beat Vancouver, I know it's in Vancouver, but Vancouver's the worst team in the league. You got to beat the worst team in the league if you want to make the playoffs. I don't, there's no excuses there.
You don't deserve. You're right. You don't deserve to make the playoffs if you can't beat the worst team in the league when your season's on the line.
Right. FC Dallas, with their complete collapse over the past month or whatever it's been. I mean, they've gotten like 2 points out of 20 something. I mean, it's been ridiculous. They couldn't score a goal. Brek Shea has, his form has kind of deteriorated as he's played more minutes. It's not just him. There's other things going on in there as well. But they've fallen apart. I don't know. Do you think that they can flip the switch when they hit the playoffs, it's going to be tough.
That's rough. They've struggled down the stretch. I think before this game, I think they've lost 4 in a row. I believe was it going into this game. So I'm not sure, but I also don't know what Shelis Hinman is thinking. Up 2-0 in this game, he brings in Brek Shea a day after playing 45 minutes for the U.S. national team. What are you thinking?
I don't know. I mean, if they are Shea and 10 other guys at this point, then that doesn't. I don't have a whole lot of confidence for him. I
just don't get what the guy's thinking of that. I mean, Shelis Hinman has made great decisions and has probably over the last 2 to 3 seasons, maybe the best coach in MLS over the last 2 to 3 seasons. But I just don't get when you risk a player like this, someone that every talking point about Brek Shea over the last couple of weeks is all the games that he's been playing and all the minutes on that body.
So FC Dallas is going to limp in. I mean, a win is a win, so fine. They win their way in, they deserve it, and they've certainly been good at certain points of the course of the year. Sporting Kansas City can get in if they beat New York on the weekend. The Union can get in if they beat Toronto on the weekend. Colorado's got a bunch of different scenarios. Columbus got a bunch of different scenarios. The Fire is basically they're out. Sorry, they lost to Dallas.
Hey,
so
I know one team that clinched something.
Who's that?
The LA Galaxy.
Oh, God. We're going to talk Supporter Shield here. It doesn't mean anything if you don't back it up.
Why wouldn't you talk Supporter Shield?
No, congratulations. It's a great accomplishment.
Thank you, because I did it. I did it.
Yeah, right. It's a great accomplishment, but, and I do think the Supporter Shield should mean more than it does. But these days, you got to go win the cup, and nobody's done it since Columbus in 2008. So it's going to be a little difficult. I mean,
only 3 teams in the. I'm sorry, only 2 teams in the entire history of MLS.
It's not a lot. All right, we're running out of time.
Is it DC, LA, and Columbus, or is it just DC and Columbus?
No, I think
DC, LA, and Columbus have done it, haven't they?
Did Kansas City do it when they won their title? They may have done it. They may have. Anyway, let's calm down there, LA boy. It's okay. You guys are in the playoffs. You want to Supporter Shield? Let's see what happens
right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please go to iTunes and sign up for, subscribe to our feed and give us ratings and comments and all of those good things. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Best Soccer Show, and on Facebook, Best Soccer Show. Go search for Best Soccer Show. Audio and video are available on iTunes. Jared. What am I missing? I'm missing things. Help me out.
We got a contest still running right now. It's going to be running all the way through our next live show next Wednesday. What we want from you, the listener, is send us your best real-life Chuck Blazer lookalike, a man with a large beard and a bit of a portly demeanor to himself.
It's time. We might, Jack Warner's the one in big trouble, but it's timely. FIFA stuff is in the news again. Go get yourself a picture with a Chuck Blazer lookalike and win yourself some bumpy.
And make sure you get the words "Best Soccer Show" in the picture, so we know that you didn't just grab it off the internet.
That's it. All right, I think we're done. Thanks for our caller. Do we have more than one? Our caller. Thanks to Brian Sciaretta. Thanks to everybody for listening. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you later. Peace.